in 1993, we never really heard of the World Wide Web. And then 1994, the only thing you could hear about is the World Wide Web. And that was because this piece of technology called the browser was invented. And the browser made it so that we could, interact, send a tracking number to FedEx. And so all of a sudden it was a transformative way to take this wonderful internet, which had been around for many years, and make it usable by just literally everybody. And so the thing that made this possible was a piece of software called a web browser. And there were many web browsers in 1992, 93, 94. But the one that really made the biggest impact was one called Mosaic, because it was the first one that worked on Windows, Mac, and Unix. And so that was open source and it was free. And it was real clear that this web and the browser technology was like the future, and whoever got their hands on it was going to be very, very wealthy. And so the team of mostly students that had built it at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign met up with some venture capitalists from Silicon Valley and founded a company called Netscape. Now, they had come from a university where they'd given it away for free and made us all want this really badly. And their first goal was to get rid of the free version of the web browser and make it so that you had to pay $50 for a web browser. So imagine to present that you would get a phone, but you couldn't surf the web. You couldn't go to a www address until you paid $50 to this company and bought a piece of software. Much like today, you buy Microsoft Word, and you buy a computer, you can't do word processing until you buy Word. Well, they wanted to make it so that you had to buy the browser. So this little company called Netscape, which was the people who built the free version, immediately tried to sort of crowd the free version out of the marketplace and make it so that everybody had to buy a $50 browser from this company called Netscape. And they did that by changing the protocols and adding features and trying to sort of split us to put a wedge in. And that might have happened, except for Internet Explorer. And that's where Internet Explorer comes into this picture. And so a lot of people like to paint Microsoft as sort of the villain in any tech story. But in this particular situation, Microsoft realized that if a commercial product, web browser, came out, then everybody who had Windows would have to pay $99 for Windows and then pay $50 for this web browser. And this web browser company would, Windows is gigantic and a web browser is really a tiny piece of software. And poor Microsoft would be making these people very, very wealthy. So they're like, we are not going to let you make a commercial product out of Netscape. And there's numbers, they hired 1,000 people in late 1994 to build Internet Explorer. And they actually included some of the free software that was Mosaic in it. They licensed it from Urbana-Champaign. And then in Windows 95, there's this little thing, free browser called Internet Explorer. That was Internet Explorer 1. It was part of Windows 95. And it basically broke the monopoly that had not yet happened that Netscape was trying to do on the browser market. And so at that point, Microsoft saved us from having to pay $50 to surf the web. And so that's the start of it. But then things kind of moved on from there, because it didn't take long for Microsoft to crush poor little baby Netscape's hopes. It was a startup, and Microsoft went from being the sort of the protector of the invaders to being the invader themselves. And they thought, well, okay, now we sent this Windows 95 out and everybody has it. Why don't we begin to change what it means to be the web? And so they had their own Microsoft unique extensions, and they said, please use these extensions. And they were things that bound the Windows operating system to web pages. And so here we are, we started with a free browser, then we end up with these kind of crummy people who are trying to make money off of a paid browser at $50 a pop. And now we got Microsoft that's got a browser that's stopped, everyone sort of replaced the one before, but then decided, oh, I'm going to make some money here. And so we had a long fight, right? And Microsoft fought to make the web a proprietary thing that you pretty much had to have a Windows box to truly enjoy. And so they wanted to make it so that the cool stuff like video and audio, you had to be a Windows person, and anyone else could use the non-cool stuff. And so they went from being our savior and giving it to us for free to basically saying, how can we force this market to be our market and eliminate other operating systems and make Windows be the only operating system for phones and for all these other things. And so Internet Explorer quickly went to, for those of us who built software for the web, it sort of went from a hero to a goat and then a laughing stock, right? I mean, because the things that Microsoft was doing were not very technically elegant, and they were just kind of a quick hack mess. Then like, well, if you do this weird thing, you can play video, and it didn't feel good to anybody, and it didn't go well. And then the whole web continued to evolve, and then Internet Explorer did not want to evolve. And so that's how it goes to being something that we sort of laugh about now and dance a little bit and say, oh, it's gone. And that ends a whole phase of the internet.
Right. You kind of touched on this, but something else I was mentioned in my newsroom earlier was just not that Internet Explorer was unsafe, but there were a lot of hacks and there was a lot of pop-ups and things coming on. So maybe talk to me a little bit about that. I know that possibly swayed people away. And then if you can mention what kind of who came up kind of next after Internet Explorer to kind of get people to move away from Microsoft to the next new big browser.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that happened in terms of the annoyances that early browsers had. All of them had annoyances, right? All of them were switching from a model where you would see just kind of a page and it wasn't interactive to having interactivity. And JavaScript was the technology for Microsoft. It was called ActiveX. And what happened is that when the browser manufacturers, Microsoft, Netscape, and others added interactivity, the first thing that often was that interactivity was used for was to be annoying, right? So one of the things that an interactive page can do is make a pop-up and like, oh, here's a pop-up, right? And so, all us nerds, we just like said, whoa, hi, welcome to my page. Bang, there's a pop-up, right? And so just because they made it and it was supposed to be interactive, we all kind of initially misused the interactivity. And so it's not all on the browser manufacturers. I mean, we played with these things and it was annoying. And then as folks tried to figure out advertising, then they would, use a pop-up to send you to an ad. And so it ended up with sort of a bad taste in people's mouths to all the interactivity that was being added to all the browsers during that time. There's a couple of things that happened to Microsoft. One of the things that happened was there was some lawsuits about the fact that you shouldn't be giving away this piece of software. And so you'll notice that Windows does not include Word. And people would feel like, well, if you put the operating system in, it has Word, that's a competitive disadvantage, and you should be able to put it in any word processor. Now, of course, no one puts in anything except Word, and Microsoft makes extra money when you buy Word. But the idea was that the market, especially Europe, hadn't given up on the idea that the web browser should be an independent piece of software that didn't just come with the operating system. And if you put that independent piece of software in the operating system, that means that whoever wants to compete with that software has a disadvantage, right? And so there were some lawsuits that said that Microsoft wasn't supposed to bundle it. You'd have to install your thing and download it, and everybody, of course, did. And so there were a few, there's some back and forth, right, where the world tried to figure out the relationship between the browser and the operating system. And in that time, that sort of, this is like 95, 96 time frame. In that time, Netscape's business model just kind of vanished out from under it. And so Netscape was sort of falling apart. they weren't making money, $50 for every browser, which would have made them, infinitely wealthy at that point. And then their whole kind of model fell apart. And so Netscape was about to sort of go away and vanish. And there was a little tiny sparkle in the back of their mind that said they came from open source at their University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And maybe as they sort of collapse into a heap, they should go back to open source. And so some of the people who were part of Netscape that believed in open source created a project called Netscape. And so the Netscape is now the Mozilla Foundation, but it was Netscape Foundation, I think. Maybe it was Mozilla at the beginning. But the idea was, here's this Netscape browser. We're ceasing to be able to be a commercial company with this. How about we just give it away as open source? And we take a little bit of the money that we've got and hand it to these 5 or 6 open source people and say, you know what, we'll see what you can do with this thing, because we're done trying to make a commercial activity of it. And so there was open source Netscape, and it's a very complex thing. Mitchell Baker was the person who ran that foundation for its beginning. And that kind of wasn't a great success until they released a version of the product that had Google as the main page that you would come up with. So your old browser might say, hi, welcome to Netscape or Internet Explorer. This is a great product, and Microsoft is so happy that you're starting our product. Whereas Netscape, which became Firefox, I think Mozilla, Firefox, they're running together but they decided to put the Google search box as the main startup page, because why would people start a browser anyway? Because they gotta go find something. And in this time, Google was becoming successful, and they signed a deal that said, I'll take a tiny fraction of a cent every time someone clicks on that box. And so all of a sudden, this open source browser, people started clicking on the box a lot. And then all of a sudden, this Mozilla Foundation became very wealthy. And not only could they afford to build a free and open source browser, which is our Firefox today, but they also had enough money to become sort of activists in terms of policy activists when it comes to freedom of the web, privacy, et cetera. And they continue to do that, right? And so that Firefox was sort of the great thing that sort of unified the world, and all of us nerds, once we kind of got rid of Netscape and we went to Firefox, and then later Chrome came out. Now there's kind of a Chrome versus Firefox battle going on, and Apple has Safari, and then there's Opera, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's lots of sort of new entrants into the space over time, but the third real big entrant was the open source Netscape, which has evolved into Mozilla and Firefox.
That was really good information. Thank you. Speaking of Google Chrome, I know right now it's kind of like the leading web browser. I guess talk to me a little bit about that. What do you think it is about Google Chrome that allows it to be that? Kind of seems like me making an educated guess. Like you said, Mozilla was already linking to Google. So Google Chrome kind of having its own website kind of sounds like, or a browser kind of sounds like a no-brainer, but obviously you would know. So just curious as to why you think there's a shift is, or is this just kind of historically what happens? You could be on the Google Chrome can be on the top now, but be at the bottom in 10 years.
Yeah, so Google Chrome, I think, came from an urge inside of Google to take more responsibility for the overall quality of experience that we enjoy on the web, right? So Google is our search engine, but for most people, that's what they think the web is, right? And so if you are unhappy with the performance of a search or the results of a search, you kind of convict the web and you convict Google. You're like, I'm mad. I typed in something and I didn't get what I wanted, or it took too long, or whatever. And so Google sort of views it as you searching, not just their site, but then the site you click on from there. And so that's why their PageRank is trying to put good websites that people actually like up at the top. Not if you click on a search result and you hit the back button because you're so mad about that search result, they want to know that. They want to know that they put a website up at the top and people don't like it, because then that website is going to go down, because you don't blame the bad website, you blame Google for showing you the website that you didn't want to see. So Google needed to sort of have a much better understanding of our own behaviors while we're using the web and while we're using search. And what better way to see our behaviors and then alter our behaviors and then react to our behaviors than build a browser. Because in the browser, they see every click we do. They know they know when you're moving your cursor, like, wait a sec, is that first one the one I want? No, I don't want that first one. I want the second one. I want the third one. So by putting a browser on your computer with Google Chrome, they could really study even better how we were using the web. Because if you're using not Chrome, they have to wait until you click on something. But with Chrome, they can sort of watch everything you do. They can, are you breathing? Did your heart rate speed up? No, I'm probably exaggerating at that point. So the idea was, and you can go either way on this. You can say, whoa, they want to know everything so they can sell you stuff, or they just want you to be happy, right? They want you to enjoy the web. And I think the truth is somewhere in between there, right? And so Chrome became a browser. They had enough money that they just, hired 500 people, see what those people are doing. Let's see what Firefox is doing. Let's make a Chrome. Let's make our own thing. And then what they had to do is they had to make Chrome better than Firefox, because otherwise those of us who'd been grown up on Firefox would not go. And so they had to make it faster and fancier and better at debugging, like for software development, et cetera, et cetera. And so they really, not only did they match what Firefox was capable of doing, but they eclipsed it. And we software developers, we just kind of rushed to it, right? And it works on Macintosh and it works on Windows, and it's free and it's fast and it has really good developer tools. And so we all migrated, the great Chrome migration. And so that was fun for a while. And then, of course, as how this whole story keeps going, Google's like, interesting. We now have 40%. We were nothing a year ago, and now we have 40%. What can we do with that? How can we then hurt the other 60% in a way that we can get to 100%? It's like we're trying to make the world a better place. Yeah, that's it. And then they're like, oh, wait, we want to destroy our competitors. And so what happened then is Google Chrome started doing things that you might not notice, but we software developers notice, like, Google Chrome's doing a little something tricky there. And YouTube's site is a little slower on Firefox for no apparent reason. Oh, wait a sec. We figure out that there's a little special thing in Chrome that makes YouTube really fast. And they're discriminating in a sense that Firefox doesn't work as well on YouTube. And so there's been kind of a backlash, right? Of like, I don't use Chrome anymore. I switched from Firefox to Chrome because I perceived that certain videos were not loading as fast. And I got tired of that. And I switched to Firefox. And then I've switched back because I kind of feel like I was being used and treated badly by my Chrome. And so it goes back and forth and back and forth. And what's really kind of happened is in this back and forth is that, it's what, 95, we're 25 years ago. No one has been able to kind of turn the corner from doing good and with their browser and then like, oh, let's eliminate all of our competition. Because we kind of notice it and then we switch, you get up to 40% and then nobody, they kind of stop, right? And so what's happened is quietly, most of the browsers are sharing some componentry within the browser, right? And so Microsoft Edge's browser was using some of the same rendering technologies that Firefox was using and Chrome was using. And so instead of basically trying to eliminate each other, they without really making too much of a fuss about it, they kind of coordinate so that if they want to innovate on something, they all can innovate and they don't have to knock each other out from a market share perspective. And so this is where Internet Explorer, which was the weird one, was replaced by Internet Edge. And Internet Edge is sort of more like Firefox and more like Chrome and shares some much more things in common. So we've stopped trying to split the world up and make us make choices based on the browser we picked and have websites that work better in one than the other. It goes on in little bits, but it's more about performance than it is about features. And so I think the fact that Internet Explorer is 11 is going away is just this acknowledgement that we've kind of passed the point where we're at the point where every single supplier's got to have a browser, and it's going to be free, and we don't need to take competitive advantage based on what our browser market share is and then try to break the community up because we have a history of noticing that and then like running as fast as possible to another browser. So perhaps this signals a golden age of sort of muted competition in which browser you're using, and a bit more of you can use any old browser you want, and the web is going to seem to be the same, perform roughly the same. And that's the optimistic way to look at the end of the long history of Internet Explorer.
So to that point, so do you not believe that another type of browser can come up and be better than Google or Firefox? Or do you think that the big 3 or 4 that we have now will kind of be here 25? Will any of these browsers that we have now be the new Internet Explorer that is now gone, is my point? Or do you think, like you said, they're all going to keep kind of like tabs on each other and make sure that everyone's kind of on par to a certain extent?
Yeah, so there's only one real major browser in the marketplace that is kind of like different from the others, right? And that would be Apple Safari. And so right now, Internet Explorer used to be the different one, right? And then it stopped being different, and Apple Safari is different as well. And it's not clear that Apple really will face the need to comply and be like everybody else in the same way. And I think the reason is because Apple is not just trying to split the marketplace and increase its market share. I think Apple has some core values as a company, like privacy, for example. And so, a lot of these browsers don't want you to be able to do things privately because they want to sell your activity to advertisers. And so there's kind of like a strange alliance between horrible advertisers and the browsers, and they don't want to completely shut out the advertisers. And so they kind of leave their browsers somewhat vulnerable to tracking, for example, so that, if you're using Chrome or using Edge or Firefox, you kind of get tracked. But Apple seems to not want to do that. They're like, advertisers, we believe that in the long run, people will find privacy more valuable, and that will lead people to Apple. And I've heard people say, and I don't do this myself, that if you're going to visit a website that you kind of don't want the world to know that you visited, use your iPhone, right? And, somebody said that to me, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Things you don't want tracked, use your iPhone. And, because if you're searching and you don't want to be tracked, use DuckDuckGo, and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense because, Apple fights for your privacy more than any other browser. And so it's not clear that, so I think that the future of a lot of what we do and how we do it depends, I think, on how much we as consumers of information and entertainment want our privacy protected. And history has shown up till now is it's a kind of a mixed bag, right? I mean, if you knew all the things where your privacy was being compromised, you might be upset, but you don't know that, so you're not upset, and you don't know enough to go figure that out. And so is Apple's slightly greater passion about privacy going to win the day? Are more people going to use Apple? Are more people going to use iPhone than Samsung? I don't know. And so if I look ahead, I think there's less and less battle about what the definition of a browser is. but I do think that there is a battle based on how the browser functions with respect to things like privacy.
That was a really good point. And also, since you brought up the iPhone, obviously iPhones come with Safari. Personally,
Yep.
I never downloaded Google Chrome or Firefox on my iPhone, and a lot of people that I know don't also do the same thing. Do you think that helps them? You know, having a phone that's very popular with a browser, and obviously people continue to use that, like you said, if they don't want to Google something on their laptop or just have it in their, you know, most of the time people might just have a phone and not a computer. Do you think that also may help them stick around in the game?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people who have Apple phones don't go to the effort to download a different browser, but of course they can. They can download Firefox, they can download Chrome, and Google would love it if you just use the Chrome browser, and they would tell you it's faster and it's funner and better for watching YouTube or whatever it is, whatever reason is. But I think that one of the things that having a more privacy-centric browser on iPhones by default means is that we all figure out, and we might realize that it's okay if we protect our privacy, the world's not going to come to an end, right? So we all think, oh, if I won't be able to do anything fun if I protect my privacy, because, you know, that it knows so much and tells me stuff and it just hands me stuff, right? And so I don't know if you've played with your iPhone. One thing I find frustrating with my iPhone, even if I'm using Google search on Safari in my iPhone, is I start typing something, and on every other device I've got, it's guessing what I'm typing, and I don't spell very well. And so I'm like, oh, thank you so much, right? You're saving my spelling. Well, the reason Apple doesn't do that is to check your spelling, it has to send what you're typing up to a server somewhere and get back what you might be meaning to type. And that is data that they retain and can data mine. And so do you want every keystroke going up to a server while you're typing a Google search or not? And I will admit that when I'm sitting in my phone and I'm typing stuff and it doesn't know what I'm typing, I'm a little miffed about that, right? I mean, and apparently I care a lot about privacy myself, but apparently I don't care that part about privacy as long as the data is being used to correct my bad spelling. And, you know that I'm going to type, air conditioner duct adapter or whatever it is that I'm going to type. And so I think I'm happy because I'm very aware of all this. I'm happy that I use an iPhone. I'm happy that they have decided not to send every one of my keystrokes up to a server. But it's an interesting experiment. I'm curious, do you have an iPhone?
Yep, I do.
And so have you noticed
I'm also a really bad speller, so I totally know what you're
so have you noticed this thing where the iPhone doesn't seem to know what you mean in ways that everything else does?
Definitely.
And does it frustrate you? Do you wish that? Yeah, okay, so you're like me then.
Yeah.
But this is kind of an experiment. That's a consequence of privacy, right? A consequence of increased privacy that Apple has chosen. They didn't ask you, by the way. They didn't ask you if you wanted type ahead, whatever. And there might even be a button somewhere in my phone that I can turn type ahead on. I don't know. I haven't found it. It hasn't annoyed me enough. And so I just think that Apple is in a weird and unique place in the marketplace because they have an operating system, they have hardware, they have software, they have phones. And so they can experiment with privacy in ways that an Android phone can't, because they're dependent on apps. And so your phone's trying to be private, but then your app kind of breaks the privacy. And so an Android's just a little more of a Wild West in terms of what apps they let come in and how they check those apps. And the Apple is a little more, protective of you. And we'll see. It's a weird way to segment the marketplace, right? And it's not how it's been. It's not the browser segmentation of the marketplace has been like features that only work on one browser, and then they kind of trick us software developers into using those features. But I don't see that in the future. We all do, I think, at this point, think of the browser as a natural side effect of computers in general, meaning if it has a keyboard and a screen, it ought to have a browser, right? I mean, if it has a keyboard and a screen, you should be able to type, www.wxyz.com or whatever it is, and that ought to work. And, or www.cbs.com or abc.com, and those should work. if it has a keyboard and a screen, and we'll lose the fact that that's a browser. We'll lose the fact that that's a piece of software that you install. And I think that's kind of where Microsoft is going as it goes from Internet Explorer to Edge, is that they just kind of feel like, you hit the start button and you type www whatever, and it goes, oh, I think what you were interested in is something on the internet. I will start this piece of software called a browser. You never installed it. You don't even notice that it's software. You just think it's part of what's on your screen. And could you uninstall it? Would you uninstall it? Would you take the browser off of your computer? I don't know. I do think that we as humans are just expecting from this point forward that everything we buy will have a keyboard, a network connection, and be able to handle web addresses and show us those things. And the fact that it's a piece of software is almost going to just fade away.
Right. Speaking to that, just looking back historically, talk to me a little bit about the importance and impact that a browser does have and did have on our community. Like you mentioned, putting a paywall on the browser obviously isn't free access for all over the country, which is what we have now. There are obviously talks still about, speed of internet and how, we try to block that off to have just kind of an equal playing field on web searching. So just touch a little bit on that, just like that importance, the history, and the impact it makes, not just on our society here, but globally.
Well, probably the single biggest impact that the browser has had in general in technology is the ability to create a rich, interactive, graphically engaging application and make it so that it can be delivered dynamically to every screen and keyboard. And so you could think of a game, right? Like Pong, for example. So imagine in the 70s, Pong, you had to buy a cabinet and they would bring it in a truck and you'd plug it in, and that's how you have a Pong game. And now you just go to www.something.com, and the next thing you're doing is you're playing a Pong game on the keyboard and the screen that you came with. So think of that as like the ability for me to write a Pong game, put it somewhere, and install it instantly on everyone's computer. And the web is a way to distribute applications. And that's what I do most every second of every day, is build web applications. Like I work on learning management systems, and we don't have to install the learning management system on a computer because our learning management system uses the web and everybody comes with a browser. And so if I give you the URL of this place to get your grades, well, then you just go and get your grades on that system and you don't have to install any software. And so that's why in the early days in 1994, 95, 96, that the battle was so fierce over the browser and the future of the browser is because it meant that for all intents and purposes, we had a way to develop software that had instant installation, meaning you, instead of installing it, finding it, installing it, using it, you just go to it and it works. And so it revolutionized how software is developed and how software is used and how software is deployed. And so that's the thing that the browser really transformed, is how we develop and distribute software.
And in general, technology has advanced quickly in the past 2 decades.
Yes.
The Internet Explorer isn't the only browser that's come and gone. The BlackBerry isn't the only phone that's come and gone. So just talk to me about the evolution of technologies and these type of search engines or softwares, and just how things do have ebbs and flows, how things do come and go, why you think that is, and to that same point, what that could mean for the future of Apple or Chromebooks or anything like that. The iPhone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great observation. I would say another thing that came and went are flip phones, right? And flip phones were everywhere. And you mentioned BlackBerry. So if you think of any system of technology, any kind of little thing that has chips in it and maybe a battery, whatever you buy from who is selling you this thing, there is a need to expand it, right? So that if you just imagine that you buy a stove and you want a recipe application on your stove, right? And so if Samsung tells me as a software developer that we've got a stove and you can write a special little widget that goes on stoves that is a recipe lookup widget, and I have to I have to program this in some weird programming language that Samsung invented, and I've got to use some weird thing that Samsung is using. But then when I've got it, I got this little widget that shows up on a Samsung called Chuck's Recipes, right? And it can show up on a refrigerator, and it can show up on a thing. And this extensibility and pluggability and the ability to add features to some kind of technology that has a screen, keyboard, and computer inside of it. History has shown that whenever you do that in a way that's unique to you, that doesn't have a very long life. And so you could build a recipe application on a flip phone. You could build a recipe application on a BlackBerry. And you would go to the flip phone company and you'd learn this thing called Java ME, and you would realize that every flip phone, every few months, you had to change your software a little tiny bit because that flip phone had more memory or less memory, or you couldn't do this or you could do that, or the way you access the internet in a flip phone is kind of weird. And the same for a BlackBerry. You had to learn the ways of the BlackBerry, and then the poor old BlackBerry would change. Or a Windows phone. We had a Windows phone for a while. And so it's this modular expandability that tends to take something like Nokia phones, which were ubiquitous, universal, and literally everywhere on the planet. The old Hershey stick phone that was the Nokia was everywhere. And if you ever had one, you had what was it, Centipede on that thing, and you could play Centipede and you could play a few things. You or I could write an application on the Nokia, but the way we write the application on the Nokia is extremely limited in the Nokia, and learning how to write an application for Nokia does not help you write the same application for a BlackBerry or a flip phone. It's completely different. Those things are all on the dustbin of history, and there's a lot to like about BlackBerry actually, but it's all on the dust heap of history. And that's because the World Wide Web as a way to build, deploy widgets that extend some kind of chunk of technology that's got a keyboard and a screen. If you can do it as a web application using HTML and CSS and JavaScript and server-side callbacks, then you can extend an Android phone, you can extend an iPhone, you can talk to people on Windows computers, you can talk to people on Ubuntu computers, you can talk to people who are just using televisions, right? And so the key thing is every technological ecosystem needs expansion point for some extension that you would just add. And the web itself and browsers itself have created a definition of an expansion point that if your television supports HTML, CSS, HTTP, and a couple other protocols, then by golly, I can write a recipe for your television. I can give you a way to view recipes on your television. And of course, my example of Samsung stoves, they don't have a web browser in them yet, which means I'm not about to write a recipe application for a Samsung stove. But the day they have a browser in your stove, well, maybe I will have a recipe application. It won't be all that hard for me to write a recipe application. So it has to do with modular expansion of techno ecosystems.
That's a really good point. And how for BlackBerry, BBM was only on the BlackBerry, or AIM was only on the Sidekick. So I can see how that limits you. If you get an iPhone, well, I don't have BBM anymore. What can I, So that's a very valid point. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and then the Trio. If you're going all back to those times, there's the Trio. I mean, one of my favorite handheld devices is still the Trio, the handspring Trio. And Apple has declared that you can't have a keyboard on your phone. You're not allowed. So there you go. And so maybe I would like a keyboard on my phone, but Apple, they don't have them, and BlackBerry had keyboards, but now we're not allowed to have keyboards because Apple declared.
And then last point, I'm not sure if you can touch on this specifically, you might be able to, but I had a conversation with one of my professors once, just about so I have a MacBook, and I've been using Mac since I was probably in like middle school. And one of the impacts of me still using a Mac now is the fact that I used it when I was in school. And I know Google Chrome has a lot of partnerships with schools, offering them very low deals on Chromebooks and things like that, kind of in a way to get those younger kids used to using Chromebooks and potentially have them use that same device all the way to adulthood. Talk to me a little bit about that, what impact you think that has on consumers, and if you think that will maybe make the Chromebook the new Mac for us, or what you just kind of, just that young kid technology, what you're used to, impact on the longevity of your product and, you know, use in the future.
So I don't, that the K-12 market, right, is a place where everybody wants to expose their product to the child. And hopefully that means that when people become adults, they are predisposed to the same product as adults. And so for me, the hardware has been a constant battle. Like the old Apple IIs with the green monitors and Oregon Trail, you know, that used to be that the only thing that happened in K-12 was Apples, right? Then they kind of went to PCs, and then like for a while, I tried to win the battle with iPads, and then, you know, Google is trying to do Chromebooks, and you know, the hardware that tends to win in K-12 is the hardware that doesn't break, because the younger a person is, the more likely it is they're going to drop it or type something, or, you know, turn it off and on, and a hard drive is going to go bad or something. They just get a lot of abuse. They get used by many people. And so I think Chromebook is going to tend to win in that it's very ruggedized. But then the question that you're asking about, well, what, let's just assume Chromebook is going to win, or something like the Chromebook, which is a very locked down system, which really for all intents and purposes is a keyboard, a screen, a network connection, and a browser. Because in a Chromebook, you're using a browser and you're using Google Docs, right? And if Microsoft wants to play in this game, they got to create a web-based Word, because then if they got a web-based Word, which I think they have, then they can be on the Chromebooks, right? And so that, you know, it's not like, hopefully Chrome won't make it so that Word works really badly on Chromebooks, but, you know, it's all in the cloud. It's not on the Chromebook. And what's cool about that is that as long as your browser works, then your data is in the cloud, and you can't, if you you know, drive your car over your Chromebook, you didn't delete all of your files, right? And so I think that when it's all said and done, the question is more about what software you're going to choose to like and use as an adult. And so I see college students who are, you know, coming of age right now, and I don't think it mattered what hardware they used when they were in K-12, but they all use Google Docs and Google Slides and those kinds of technologies to do their word processing. So the notion that you could even have a USB stick that has all your writings on it, that is a notion that's completely foreign to young people the past 15 years, because no matter what their school had as hardware, they all used Google Docs, right? And Google Email and Google Sheets and Google Drive, and the teachers use Google Drive, and they use Google Sheets, and they use this and they use that. And so Google is using Chrome, which is a brilliant piece of hardware in that it doesn't break, right? It's simple, doesn't take a lot of power. All the work is done in the cloud on the server. But it does mean that it is almost a foreign notion for young people by the time they're in like 7th grade to imagine that their writings belong to them, that their writings are, you knew in that MacBook where your homework was. You could take it with you. And if you didn't want someone looking at your homework and scanning it to see what to sell you, it was in your computer. But if you're using Google Docs, you know, Google tells you they're not going to look at that stuff, right? And, you know, probably they're not, but it's just not in your possession. So what are you going to do? And so, you know, I think what we're learning from the continuous move toward simpler and simpler physical devices that have no brains whatsoever and no data whatsoever in K-12 is that we are basically training young people that don't be concerned about privacy, that you don't need to protect your data from Google. Google is the overlord. Google is safety. If you take it out of Google, it's less safe, but in Google, it is safe. And so, do you want it on your laptop? Like, I'm old enough to know that I know what's on this laptop I'm sitting in, and I know where my backups are. And it's not sitting in the Google right now. When I put stuff in Google, I know I've done it. I'm like, okay, this thing I will put in Google because I want to share it with a bunch of people, blah, 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 blah. But then I want to make a copy of it on my laptop, and so I think that the K-12 thing is teaching people to not care about privacy, or to believe that the zone of control is not just your laptop, but it's your laptop plus Google. And anything inside of Google, that's as safe as you can be. Keep it in Google. That's the safe place. And it's not the worst thing in the world for people to believe that. There are other places that I think your data is at much greater risk than Google. And the reason for that is that if word got out that Google was leaking your data, right? As you write your paper in 7th grade about patriotism, and you're exploring things in 7th grade, and you say something weird in 7th grade about patriotism, and you think, well, that paper's not going to go away. And then you're 25 years old and you're running for Congress, and all of a sudden your 7th grade paper shows up, and the only place you ever put that paper in is Google, right? And you didn't share it with anybody. You just typed it in and gave it to your teacher, but somehow the national media has your 7th grade paper that you put into Google. At that point, Google's world comes crashing down. Right. I mean, if all of a sudden people lose faith, and it doesn't take much to lose faith, right? It does not take much to lose faith. And I know people that work for Google, and I know how careful Google is to not make mistakes that might lead to us losing faith that storing data in Google is as safe as storing data on your laptop, right? And I'm not convinced that's true. But so far, Google has been able to keep up that appearance that your data is locked tightly, and the only ones looking at it are Google. And Google has moved away from, at least to the extent they talk about it publicly, they seem to be peeking at your data less and less. I mean, meaning that, and I think that the reason for that is that they know enough about you from your searches and everything else you do. They don't need to look at your 7th grade papers to figure out what to sell, that you want a canoe tomorrow, and we're going to start sending you ads for canoes. So your 7th grade paper just isn't valuable to them. Not that they couldn't do it, but they just have done it, and they're like, that's so great. Why bother? Why even look at the 7th grade papers? And then just, make a commitment to privacy. And this goes back to where I think that Apple as a company has a more core value of privacy than Google does. But for Google, it's survival, right? It is life or death for Google to protect the data that we entrust with them. I'm not sure where you wanted that question to go.
That was great. That was a lot. I've been learning so much. I feel like I'm in lecture, but I'm enjoying this. Is there anything else you would like to note, highlight, mention that I didn't bring up that you think is important for people to know about browser, the history of browser, the death of Internet Explorer, just anything I didn't mention?
Not really. I mean, ultimately in all of these things, they all kind of have an arc, right? The Internet Explorer had an arc, and like their benefit, their lack of benefit, they were good guys, they were bad guys, they added positive and negative at the same time, just because they were an active part of the market. And on the whole, I think that the market really has benefited greatly from having Internet Explorer be part of it, right? And so while many will dance a jig because Internet Explorer 11 is gone, well, I just had a light go out because Internet Explorer is gone. I see the good and I see the bad that they did, and I'm happy with all of it. And it is time to move on.
Okay. My supervisor calls Internet Explorer Internet Exploder. So.
Yeah, well, that's because That's because there was a time that for those of us developing web applications, the Internet Explorer was kind of like the anchor that slowed us down, maintaining compatibility. And that's why a lot of people are like, yay, it's gone. I don't think it was quite as bad as some of the earlier versions of Internet Explorer that were very different and very far reaching. Because one of the things that, we in the United States don't realize is that there's places around the world that are using Windows XP still.
Yeah.
And they're still using like really old versions of Internet Explorer. And, you go to India and you will not see a Windows 10 laptop anywhere, except in, companies and businesses. But like in homes, you'll just see some old hardware, old software. And so it's difficult for those of us who write software to decide when to give up, because you do cut out a whole bunch of people. And just because support ends today for a particular version of Internet Explorer, the one that shipped with Windows Vista is still out there. And while it's a tiny fraction of the market globally, especially if we think about it from the West perspective, in a bunch of places, it's the only browser. And you go to India or sub-Saharan Africa, and you find that that these, not even the latest Explorer, but Explorer 9 or 8 are still prevalent. And and so if you build software and you want to help those people or teach those people, you can't ignore these older browsers.
Right. That was a good point. So just to make sure I understood what I digested today, some of the key takeaways I see is people love free. The browser should be free. People aren't going to start paying for browser anytime. The idea of a browser is, like you said, kind of innate at this point. You have a computer, you expect to be able to search up whatever you want to search, but then also to be successful as a browser or a developer, what you create has to work everywhere. It has to work on my Mac, has to work on my PC, has to work on my Chromebook. Otherwise, your longevity, there won't really necessarily be any. And then I like your kind of takes about privacy too, because I do think obviously that's more and more in the conversation. But to your point, if I'm a kid and I'm using Google Chrome, I think Google's safe, and like you said, for the most part it is, but that my first thought is, oh, I can put everything on Google. I can use Google Docs. That's free. And I have that. And it has my stuff and it's safe. No one's going to harm me. But once they violate that, then who knows what can happen to Google. So I thought that was a very interesting take. That was.
Their entire business model depends on protecting your privacy for now, even though I don't believe that they're kind of philosophically committed to protecting your privacy. They're financially committed to protecting your privacy. Right?
Right.
I think Apple is more philosophically committed to protecting your privacy. And Google, it's in their financial best interest to do so. So which of those things is the better thing? Because core values can change too. We've seen that, right? Core values, you get new management or the revenue starts falling and all of a sudden core values just go out the window.
Yeah.